Why did the war take 30 years and not 100 years? Is being defenestrated worse than being given to the Inquisition? Did Transylvania really send an army of the undead to fight the Catholic League? I'm Professor Jerome Markenberg, and I'll answer these and other questions right after this. Hi, Professor Ark here. And I've been teaching a wide variety of history courses at colleges across this country for the past 30 years. In this video, I'm going to tell you all about the Defenestration of Prague and the 30 Years' War. The course of the 30 Years' War, the king's generals and others involved in the 30 Years' War, how France entered the 30 Years' War and screwed up the ending, and how the Treaty of Westphalia ended the 30 Years' War and changed the course of European history. And if you haven't guessed by now, this video is all about the 30 Years' War. At the end, I'll have the wrap-up quote on this video. But first, make sure to click like, share, and subscribe, and that little bell thingy so I can continue to bring you more great videos just like this one. The 30 Years' War, from 1618 to 1648, began as yet another religious war, but it ended as a struggle for mastery in Europe. You see here on this wonderful map the principal seats of war in Europe. The pink area is the first part of the 30 Years' War and where all the armies went. The second part is the area, essentially the Swedish part from 1630 to 1635. And the last bit, well, that's where it starts to expand from 1648 to 1660. The war began in 1618 with the Defenestration of Prague. To defenestrate sounds pretty bad, but all it means is throwing people out the window. Anyway, the Defenestration of Prague began when local Protestants threw Catholic administrators out the window of Prague's Rathaus, leading to a general uprising against the Holy Roman Emperor Ferdinand II, a Catholic fanatic that spread to other Protestant states in the empire. The Protestants, led by Count Ernst von Mansfeld, and that's, you see him here, nice rough, elected their own emperor, the Elector of Palestine, Fred V, sometimes called the Winter King. Here he is right here. Nice lace. But they were opposed by Ferd. Here's Ferd. Ooh, also nice rough. Must be hard to turn your head. Fred II, Ferd II, excuse me. And his army is led by Count von Tilly, plus Spanish armies led by the Duke of Spinola, and the Catholic League's Max of Bavaria. In 1620, at the Battle of White Mountain, not far outside Prague, Tilly destroyed the Protestant army, and the Winter King, Fred V, the Elector of Palatine, was forced to flee to England. And why England? His father-in-law was England's king, King Jim I. Tilly followed up his tremendous victory by ones at Heidelberg, Wimpfen, Hochst, and Stadtlohn, occupying Westphalia, as you see here, moving along from here all the way up through here, and Lower Saxony, that'd be Niedersachsen down here, while Spinola defeated Mansfeld at Fluis, driving his army into Holland. The occupied lands, especially Bohemia, then felt the full wrath of the Inquisition. Dissolution of the old medieval estates and customs, so all their old liberties gone, confiscation of Protestant property, mass executions, and Catholicization by terror and force. At this point, to save Protestantism from being wiped out in Germany, the King of Denmark, Norway, Christian IV, invaded Germany. Unfortunately for him, he's defeated in one battle, defeated by Tilly, the Battle of Lutzen in 1626, and forced to retreat into Denmark. Northern Germany then suffered the full force of the Inquisition. So there he is, poor Christian coming out and being forced to retreat. In the south, the Bohemian Catholic Albrecht von Wallenstein, this guy here, defeated von Mansfeld's new army, the one that he lost at Fluis, at the Battle of Dessau, then pursued him into Hungary, where he was, Mansfeld, not Tilly, Wallenberg, pursued him into Hungary, where von Mansfeld was able to find refuge with Bethlen Gabor, the Protestant Prince of Transylvania, who, by the way, did not send an army of the undead against the Catholics. Bummer. On the verge of ruin again, the Protestants were saved by the arrival in 1630 of the Swedish king Gustavus Adolphus and his army. And he made Sweden a great power for the first time, since the Vikings. And the Protestants then rallied after Tilly's merciless sack of Magdeburg in 1631, where 30,000 out of 35,000 of the inhabitants were slaughtered. Then, at the 1631 Battle of Breitenfeld, the Swedes annihilated Tilly's army. I'm not going to go through the entire battle here, but this is Tilly's army right here. Tilly's army here, Gustavus Adolphus here, and, let's see how the course of events proceeds. Tilly attacking, the Swedish cavalry running away, but then the Swedish columns are more flexible, able to move up. Their cavalry defeated Tilly's cavalry on his left flank. They run around and afterwards essentially annihilated his army. Gustavus Adolphus then drove the Catholic armies out of central and most of southern Germany. Munich and Nuremberg surrendered. The Battle of Rhine, Tilly was defeated and killed, and only Wallenstein's victory over the Saxons in Bohemia kept the Swedes from taking Vienna, which essentially would have meant victory, total victory. Then, in 1632, Wallenstein was defeated in a great battle of Lutzen. Unfortunately, Gustavus Adolphus, the military genius of Sweden, the savior of Protestantism in Germany, was killed in the battle. The Swedish generals, Horn, Banner, Wrangel, and Torstenson, along with Sweden's premier Axel Oxenstierna and Bernard of Saxe-Weimar, kept the fight going. But as you can kind of guess, it was sort of a wave. Catholics winning, then Protestants winning, then Catholics winning, and then the Protestants winning again, of different few until back and forth. And this happens in 1633, when the Catholic League's most feared general, Wallenstein, was murdered on the orders of the Emperor, Ferd II, who feared his rising popularity. So, when the Protestants were on the verge of defeat, the Catholics' best general was killed off by the Emperor, Ferd II, the fanatical Catholic who was kind of an idiot. Still, in 1634, the Swedes were defeated at the Battle of Nordlingen and lost all of southern Germany. At this point, the accession of a less fanatical emperor, Ferd III, promised an end to the war, when the French screwed it all up. Catholic France, de facto ruled by Cardinal Richelieu, declared war on Spain and the Empire, seeking territory along the Rhine and the weakening of Habsburg power, and prolonging the war for another 10 years. In 1638, the French conquered Alsace, which is this area here, after a victory at Breisach, and while they were defeated at Tuttlingen, they were victorious nonetheless at Jankau. Finally, in 1643, the French decisively defeated the Spanish at the Battle of Rocroi, leading to peace talks at last. After 4 years of talks, in 1648, the 30 Years' War ended with the Treaty of Westphalia. And we see here who got what. Well, for all their effort, the French got a few little spots here and there. Doesn't seem like much. The Swedes got hither Pomerania and this part up here by Bremen. Brandenburg got further Pomerania. Saxony got this part here, Lusatia, and Bavaria got, they got the Upper Palatinate and some of these areas around Magdeburg. The Spanish, however, kept fighting until 1659, when they made peace with France and the Treaty of the Pyrenees, making it for them the 40 Years' War, which really marks the decline of Spain and the ascendance of France. The Peace of Westphalia brought the wars of religion to a close. Religious oppression, persecution, and intolerance would continue nonetheless, but European states and rulers would no longer intervene to aid their co-religionists abroad. So, in other words, the French would not intervene to save Catholics in Germany. The Swedes would not intervene to save Protestants in Germany. Or neither, and all of them, nobody wanted to force their beliefs on the other states. And this new kind of toleration and secularism is really what counts for the birth of the modern world. And here's our wrap-up quote. Thus it came about that Magdeburg and all its inhabitants fell into the hands of the enemy, whose violence and cruelty were due in part to their common hatred of Protestantism. Then was there naught but beating and burning, plundering, torture, and murder. Most especially was every one of the enemy bent on securing as much booty as possible. With blows and shootings, stabbings and hangings, in this frenzied rage the great and splendid city, that had stood like a fair princess in the land, was now, in its hour of direst need and unutterable distress and woe, given over to the flames, and thousands of innocent men, women, and children, in the midst of a horrible din of heart-rending shrieks and cries, were tortured and put to death, in so cruel and shameful a manner, that no words would suffice to describe, nor no tears to bewail it. John Rushworth and the sack of Magdeburg in 1631. So, let me know what you think of this quote. Whether it's true or not, whether you liked it or not, in the comments section below. Also, what you liked about this video, and what other historical topics or subjects you'd like to see in future videos. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, as it will help me bring you more great videos. And click on that little bell thingy, so you'll know when the next History Waits for No One video is posted. If you want to know more, there are recommended studies on this topic in the description below, along with other ways to connect with me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the past.